sometimes it's hard to tell what you might come across in our annual tour. And obviously, today we come across something that's a little bit more poignant than some of the other offerings along the tour. And to my right, the Reverend Robert Chase is going to tell us all about it. It looks like ribbons in the sky to me. You tell us what it's all about.
Thank you, Stan. So this is Ribbons of Hope. It was originally created in the aftermath of 9/11 and the 10th anniversary as a way to commemorate and provide a kind of a community art project for people of all ages and of all perspectives to add their thought for hope, for peace, for the future of humankind. And so we had these in Battery Park during the weekend of 9/11 at the 10th anniversary. And then subsequently, they've traveled all around the New York City region. And the hope is that we'll ultimately bring them even internationally. We have about 25,000 people from all over the world that have added their thoughts for hope, for peace, for the future of humankind on these panels. And they've really been a remarkable way of continuing the legacy of 9/11 in a hopeful way.
So it's not a fixed showing, it's still interactive.
Absolutely. The thing about this that we think makes it so exciting is that it continues to grow, it continues to evolve, it continues to change and reflect the history of the moment, so that as different people come up and add their thoughts and their perspectives, it is an evolving expression of hope for the future. This was originally created by 6 faith-based interfaith organizations in New York City, which formed a coalition called Prepare New York. The idea was, and it had its genesis really at the 9th anniversary of 9/11, when there was the controversy around the mosque at Ground Zero. And a group of us from the faith-based community felt that we wanted to create something that would help to bring people together. And so what we did was we formed this coalition called Prepare New York. And this activity seeks to create a human mosaic, irrespective of the different faith groups or different neighborhoods or different perspectives, so that what we might do is together live in peace and harmony and have this as a living tribute, really, not only to those who perished tragically at 9/11, but moving into the future as an expression of how we might live together in a new way as we face our future together across lines of difference. One of the great things about Ribbons of Hope has been that we have had people from those who were actually in the towers at the time of the attack to children who weren't born yet during that fateful day. And so all those different perspectives have come together, and each individual ribbon may not say a whole lot, but when you put them all together, 25,000 of them, there's a real powerful statement about how we can live together, both young and old, people from all across the world. We have a whole series of ribbons from Australia, from Hungary, from Norway, in the wake of the tragedy that happened a couple of years ago when that person killed a bunch of kids. And yet, when you read them time after time, the statements are saying, we need to live together, we need to have peace, we need to forget about our differences and find common ground. Every place that these ribbons have gone, and we've had them at the New York Public Library, we've had them at the United Nations, we've had them in various mosques and synagogues and churches around New York City, there's the opportunity for people to fill out their own ribbons and to add to this display. And in fact, we're doing that here in Jersey City at this Artist's Walk, so that, again, kids and families and all kinds of folks can come and participate and help this display grow.
I'm Frederick Johnson, and I'm the artistic director at Intersections International, which is one of the organizations that partnered with this amazing initiative, Ribbons of Hope. As we travel around the world and do our social justice work, we begin to realize that there are so many feelings, ideas that we have in common. And one of the ways of really connecting to that is through art and creative expression. One of the opportunities that I had was to go to Israel during the period of time that we were gathering ribbons from around the world to be a part of this exhibit that would really exemplify that the world really is now in a place where we want to be hopeful. We want to be able to have our thoughts and ideas heard, and that we come together and really speak as one. So as a musician, I travel to Israel and I do a lot of work working with both the Jewish and the Muslim community, really having conversations around the things that we have in common as opposed to focusing on the things that are different about us, and really trying to recognize that the things that are different about us is what makes the life experience really beautiful. So we had the opportunity to gather with both young Jewish teenagers and young Arabic Muslim teenagers, and we played music and we communicated about how important it is to really dream and realize that we can realize our dreams and really try to show the world that people do want to be together. And we were able at that time to take these ribbons of hope, and everybody wrote their words and their ideas, and we brought them back to the United States, and they hang here now on this exhibit. It's funny, we tend to think that life is real complicated and we have to have complicated answers. But to simply give ourselves permission to consider that hope is a possibility, to desire that hope is a possibility, and write it down. Regardless of what your belief is, whether it's a religious belief or a philosophical belief, most of the great texts of the world say that if you acknowledge it, if you write it, if you put it into the world, that it can happen. I think that these ribbons of hope exemplify that. A simple example to say, let's speak what we believe and let's let it move through the world. Because I really think that that's what hope is all about.
I'm Jim Pastorino. I'm the director and the curator here at the new art center that we're developing in Jersey City, the drawing rooms at the OLC Art Center. And behind me is a piece of my own, which is based on kind of like an abstract comic strip sort of idea. At the time I was working on it, I was working with the artist who's across the room here from me, Ibu Ndoye. And he has a large piece on carpet, and that we set up in the room together so that we could kind of balance each other out. We started a publishing system called Victory Hall Press, and earlier this year we did 2 books with Ibu because he's been creating books on cardboard. And while we were developing those, I borrowed probably or got inspired by some of his colors. He's from Senegal. He's been in Jersey City for about 10 years. And it's nice, these small rooms of the convent we have recently renovated allow us to put a couple of artists together where they can pair off with each other, where you can kind of look at both pieces at once or several pieces at once in a more intimate setting. So also in the room, if you see over here, is another person we've been working with a lot, Carl Varot. We thought these worked very well in here because, in contrast to Ibu and my own busyness, Carl is very reserved, and I think he gets a lot of impact out of the few shapes and lines that he has here. So all of this work is seen a little bit more almost like a pictogram or a pictograph, where it's kind of it's not making an illusion, but it is kind of telling a story.
We've moved on to something pretty interesting. To my left is an editor that I'm very familiar with, John Crittenden, editor with the Jersey Journal. John, tell us a little bit about what's behind us. Obviously, we have art, capturing art and life.
Well, photojournalists don't get enough credit, don't get enough appreciation. And I've been thinking about doing this show for a couple of years because I want to get some appreciation for them. I've seen so many good photographers come through the Jersey Journal in the last few years, and I just wanted to do something for them to celebrate them and also have the public show some appreciation for the work that they do.
The dexterity of a photojournalist, they have to be ready at any given moment to shoot a sporting event, a civic event, council meetings, just anything that's unpredictable in real life.
Yeah, an accident. We've got one photograph here of a car that went into a Dunkin' Donuts on Central Avenue here in Jersey City. I was at the desk writing headlines and editing copy, and I saw the photographer being dispatched to go get us some pictures, and an hour later he came back with pictures and was on page 1 the next day. That's photojournalism. That's showing the reader and everybody else what's going on in our world. And that's why I subtitled the title of the show, 7 Photographers Respond to the Scene. And I don't think enough people appreciate it. So that was the genesis of this show, was to show their work, get people to see it and see it for what it is.
Just looking at the diversity of the photographs, there's always someone who can get a special shot. Now, all these photos seem to be able to stand on their own. There's small captions to explain them, but it is true, and a lot of cliches really aren't, but picture is 1,000 words. When you have a really good photojournalist, picture's worth 1,000,000 words. These pictures are pretty self-explanatory, but every now and then you'll see one that's a cut above. I'm sure there are a few that you've seen, particularly in this show. Let's talk about those first.
Yes, well, one of our great photographers right now is Lauren Castleberry, and these sports shots over here show that. And one of our other photographers in the show is Steve Gold. He shoots for the Jersey Journal, he shot for the Independent, and a lot of other publications. Some of the soccer shots were in one of the soccer magazines. He does a lot of city council work, showing people in government.
Now, one of these have actually gone national. Let's talk about that photo.
This picture was taken in 2006 by Andrew Miller. It's of the Tribute of Light. It was shot from the 22nd floor of the Goldman Sachs building. This was picked up by the Associated Press, and the next morning after the 5th anniversary of the September 11, this photograph was on newspapers' front pages around the world. It's been used ever since, and I think the most recent use of it was in USA Today just this past September. So some photographs do have a long life and do have widespread exposure, and others, a lot of the others don't. And yet they're photographs that deserve to be seen. One of the things that surprised me in putting this show together, and it's a reminder of something I already knew, photojournalism has gotten a lot looser with fewer rules over the years. They used to be pretty static and they were in black and white, and now they're obviously in color. There's not such a rigid format for them, and a lot more sensitive subjects are used. And this is one of them that is particularly interesting. It's a 55-year-old man and his wife, and he has early onset Alzheimer's. It appeared in the Star Ledger. It was taken by Andrew Miller, and probably 10 or 15 years ago, you wouldn't have seen a picture of an Alzheimer's patient in the news. I wasn't surprised at the diversity of the pictures, but I was really surprised at the complexity that each photographer brought to it. It's a personal vision thing, and no two photographers photograph the exact same thing in the exact same way. That's just the way photography is. So you have in this show 7 different visions of the way to interpret the news and get it.
Kay Kenny. And also Jersey City Cultural Affairs, run by our good friend, Mary Ann Kelleher. Greg Bricky, her able assistant, and the whole staff. And this is the 22nd annual Jersey City Studio Arts Tour, and it gets bigger and better every single year. As most of you know, Jersey City is a haven for the arts, all kinds of arts.
SACU!
Thank you. And every place the arts go, it improves whatever venue it is, whatever city, town it is. So we're grateful to have this great arts presence here in Jersey City. It makes our city better, and anything we can do to continue it, to expand it, and to grow it, we stand ready, willing, and hopefully able to do so. Thanks for coming down again. God bless you. See you over the weekend.
All right, folks at home, that was Friday night's grand opening, and thanks to the mayor for coming down to the Tenmark buildings here at 430 Communipaw Avenue and getting things off in the right foot. So what you're going to see for the next several moments are such a great variety of the hundreds of artists who participated in this year's Jersey City Annual Artist Studio Tour. Stay tuned and enjoy this show. We're shifting gears here down at the Tenmark and talk about different kinds of mediums. We had some photo art going. We had opportunity to see some photojournalists a little while ago down by Benson Gallery, Mary Benson Gallery, that is. But now with Daniel Morte to my left, tell us about your version of photography.
Oh, thank you. This year I decided to do something really different. I believe that photography is a great way to show some history of a place and a person. So when I had the opportunity to go to Cuba last May, I wanted to be able to capture elements of Cuba and bring it back to Jersey City. And this is how I have this new series here called Havana Dreams. Last May, I was able to go to Havana, Cuba to work on a documentary of Ben Jones, a local artist. It was funded by Prestige Media Productions. And while I was down there, I brought my personal camera, and I really wanted to show a side of Cuba that not many people really see because of the political and economical situations that goes on. A lot of people think that Cuba has this conception of being a military-run place where, you know, it's very strict and all this violence is going on. But I really wanted to show that it has so much history and culture and beauty that is still flourishing down there.
Tell us, what was the most, satisfying or overwhelming, unexpected surprise you found there?
Oh man, there was so many. The simple things, like seriously, like I went into complete strangers' houses and they welcomed me with open arms, gave me a meal, sat down, watched their TV. I mean, just the interaction that people have, you know, just because you don't know someone is not an excuse not to say hi. And we're so friendly down there. Especially when you're in America and you come there and you know, so you just want to absorb and see the culture. You know, it was a really humbling experience. It reminded me that that they have something that, you know, we're losing more and more today in modern times, humility. You know, they don't have much, but they are willing to give you everything they have just to make people happy, which is
now,
really cool.
Before you took the trip, or is this something that evolved once you got there and you saw the richness of the culture, or did you really anticipate having this kind of showing?
I wasn't anticipating much, actually. You know, my state of mind was, you know, I was doing a project, a documentary, and then my focus was on the work. But then when I was having conversations with various people who had positive reviews on Cuba and negative reviews on Cuba, I was like, I want to bring back something that at least have them involved in conversation again, so they can maybe change their minds or at least have a little more information about what goes on in Cuba. And, you know, I've gotten many, many amazing reactions. Yesterday, I was told by another photographer that came through that he brought his mom here, and his mom burst into tears because I believe that's her old neighborhood. And it reminded her so much of her childhood. And honestly, with all the money I spent getting these printed out and all the effort of taking it here and the fact that, you know what I'm saying, haven't slept in days, that moment made all this so worth it.
Do you have a website people can look forward to and a timetable as far as the completion of the documentary?
The documentary hopefully will be ready by this time next year. And you can reach me at my website, which is kodakjones.com, KODAKJONEZ.com. I also have morteexperience.com, MORTEH experience.com.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing your work.
Thank you.